Let's look at this particular question under geometric progressions, GP. The question reads, this question is coming from 2021, paper 3 GCE, and the question reads, given that the GP 4, 2, 1, comma continued. So this is the GP. I've got 4, 2, 1. So you see here that the number 4 is the first term in this sequence, the number 2 is the second, and number 1 is the third in this particular sequence. Geometric progression, abbreviated as GP. Take note. So these are the first 3 numbers of this particular GP. So asked to find the 7th term. So how are you supposed to do? Well, let's get started and see how this is answered. So for us to answer this particular question, we have this particular formula: Tn equals to AR to the power n minus 1, where Tn is the term and n is the position of the term, and A is the first term, and R is the common ratio. So we see here that the question asks us to find the 7th term. The 7th term. So meaning, where we have our n, we'll put the position of this particular term as the 7th. So if you do so, we're going to have T7 equals to A is the first term. In this case, our first term is the 4. So put a 4 here, then we open the brackets. Our R, we need to find what R actually is. Then our n, we know our n is still the 7, so this will be 7 minus 1. When you simplify this, we're going to have 4. R is R to the power 6. This is what you have, but you need to find what R is. Now, how do you find R? Well, R is basically the common ratio. R is basically the common ratio, which is computed by saying R is equals to T2 over T1, a term divided by the previous one. And in this case, we have the number 4 as our first term, T1, number 2 as our second term, T2, and number 1 as our third term, T3. So for us to find the common ratio, we can say T2 divided by T1 or T3 divided by T2. You see? So in this case, the T2, we know it is our number 2. So we can write a 2 here. And the T1, we see it's a 4. When you simplify this, we're going to have 1/2. So our R is equals to 1/2. Our common ratio is 1/2. Let's try to substitute in here. So we're going to say this is 4 times. Our R is 1/2, which we know 1/2 is just the same as saying 0.5. So you could say 0.5 raised to the 6th power. Then from here, you actually, get your gadget, your calculator. So in this case, we're going to say 4. So you press the number 4, and the number 4 here is this one. This is number 4. Then you say times, and you say times, take note, 0.5 to the power. The power is just right here. This is the power 6. The power 6. Have you seen this? Then try to punch on your calculator. And of course, our answer will be 0.0625. Okay? So your answer now we have as 0.0625. You may end here as your answer is alright, or alternatively, you could say this answer here, which you're saying, you now want to write it as a fraction. So you go to this button D slash C, you see, you press it there, you're going to have 1/16. You see, that's how you write it. So this can also be written as 1/16 as your answer. You may leave it this way as a fraction 1/16 or 0.0625. Let's move on to the second question. The second question requires that we find the sum of the first 9 terms. Now remember, the sum of the first 9 terms of a GP, of this particular GP, formulas are dependent on the value of R. So if the value of R is less than 1, it simply means that the formula will be as follows. It will be the sum of the first n terms of a GP equals to A open 1 minus R to the power n, then everything we divide by 1 minus R. But also, if the value of R is greater than 1, this simply means that the sum of the first n terms of a GP will equal to A open, we have R to the power n minus 1. You close and everything over R minus 1. This becomes the formula. So in the case of our question here, we see that the common ratio here is T2 over T1, which gave us R as being equal to 1/2. And we see that 1/2 is actually less than 1. And so the formula to use is this formula here. Let's get started. Let's continue and see how we go about this particular question. So the formula becomes this one here. The sum of the first n terms, A open 1 minus R to the nth power over 1 minus R. Where we are guided here to say n, wherever you see n in this case represent the number of terms in a sequence to be added. So then in this case we are told the sum of the first 9 terms. So where we see the n in this formula, we put the 9. So this will be the sum of the first 9 terms equals to, remember the A is actually the first term as a 4, so put a 4 here. Then you open the brackets, the 1, you write 1 there, minus, remember R, our R is 1/2, which is half, which you can write as 0.5 to the power 9. Close everything, we have 1 minus half. You see, once you do this, you continue, we say the sum of the first 9 terms equals to 4. You open the brackets, you try to work out what is inside here. If you do so, you can easily compute this by using the calculator. So you can just get your calculator. So let's see how we go about this one. So let's plug in the numerator. So in the numerator we have, take note, the numerator we have 4. We have a 4 times, take note, instead of putting times, you can just put the bracket here. So say this is 4. Take note, this is 4. Then we open the brackets. We open the brackets as you're able to see. Then inside we're going to say 1 minus 0.5 to the power 9. Then we close. Are you seeing this? This is our numerator. Then say equals to. Then everything we divide by. So we can write this. You could write that. This is what you do. So you see that the numerator is giving us 3.992185 over 1 minus a half is 0.5. If you punch this on your calculator, we see that we're going to have this number divided by 0.5. When you do so, you press the equal sign. and there you go, you have your answer. So your answer in this case is the sum of the first 9 terms of a GP is equals to 7.984375. But since the answer is not exact, we round off correct to the nearest to the significant figures, to the 3 significant figures. In this case, it will be 7.98 as your answer. Alternatively, you could leave this answer as the sum of the first 9 terms is equals to, you can write this, let me show you on the calculator. While it's you a decimal number, you go to the D/C. You've seen? This is D/C. Press it there. You've seen? So I've got 763/64. So it can also be a mixed fraction, and this can be 763/64. This is also the answer. So you may leave it here or here. The choice is yours. Thank you for watching.